When I was 15, my stepdad dragged us from our beds at 3 a.m. Get the fuck up, you don't live here anymore. Mom already had our school records in a trash bag, shoved us into the car in our pajamas. My sister, 11, was crying, still clutching her teddy bear. Mom drove to the Greyhound station, chain smoking. My cousin Rita lives in Detroit. Tell her I said hi. No cousin Rita ever existed. Stepdad threw a crumpled $100 bill at my face. That's all you're worth. Lose my number. Mom lit another cigarette. We're moving to Texas at dawn. Already changed our phones. Don't try finding us. Sister started sobbing. Mommy, what did we do wrong? I'll be good, I promise. They drove off while we stood there in 20-degree weather. Security guard watched the whole thing. Just shrugged. Not my problem, kids. Bus didn't leave till 9 a.m. We huddled on the freezing concrete for 6 hours. She kept whispering. Maybe they'll come back. Maybe it's just a lesson. That was 9 years ago. 5 days ago, my revenge in action. My WhatsApp blew up with 50 hysterical voicemails. I'm sorry. We're sorry. Please just answer. We're desperate. You don't get to call me son now. My voice cut through the cramped kitchen, and every eye turned. Mom's hand hovered over the coffee pot, knuckles white. My stepdad, gray hair now, but still with that same permanent sneer, leaned back in the chair like this was some minor inconvenience. We're family, Mom said, voice trembling. We can fix this. Family? I laughed, bitter. That word means something to people who don't leave their kids freezing on a sidewalk at 3 in the morning. My name's Omsro. Evan Parker. I'm 24 now, and if you think time heals everything, you've never spent a night shivering on concrete wondering why you weren't worth keeping. I'm calm now, most days. I work steady hours, pay my rent on time, even keep a plant alive. But when that WhatsApp notification blew up with 50 missed calls from them last week, I felt a kind of slow, quiet satisfaction I'd been chasing for 9 years. The players. Carol, Mom, 58. Always said life was too hard for softness. Spent more on cigarettes than groceries. Frank, stepdad, 64. Retired construction foreman. Strong back once, mean mouth always. Lily, sister, 20. 11 when it happened. I used to protect her. Now she protects their excuses. Me, 24. The one they wrote off, then remembered when they needed something. We didn't have a choice back then. Mom said. You always had a choice, I replied. You just never picked us. Frank slammed his palm on the table. We're in trouble, Evan. The bank's taking the house. Your name could save it. I stared at him. My name? The one you told me to lose forever? You're our last hope. Lily's voice barely rose above a whisper, but in the silence of that cramped kitchen, it felt like a thunderclap. Her fingers twisted the hem of her sweater, the same nervous tick she had when she was little and waiting for Mom to stop yelling. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I could almost see the shadow of that night in the slope of her shoulders. But I also knew the truth. They weren't calling because they missed me. They weren't calling because they suddenly understood what they'd done. They were calling because the numbers in their bank account had run out, and mine hadn't. They didn't want me. They wanted my credit score. Something in my chest tightened. A familiar pressure, like the moment before a storm breaks. Inside, my pulse raced, but on the outside I sat perfectly still. The same stillness I'd learned in those years after I left, when the safest move was no move at all. It hit me like a smell before a memory, the sharp bite of diesel fumes from the Greyhound station. Lily clutching her teddy bear so hard its seams pulled. Mom pacing under the dim yellow streetlight, chain smoking, exhaling clouds that dissolved into the freezing dark. Frank leaning against the wall, his breath already sour with beer, spitting out, "That's all you're worth." Like he was throwing away a piece of trash. We had 6 hours before the first bus out, 6 hours of biting wind that gnawed through our coats. My toes went numb by hour 3. By hour 4, I couldn't feel my fingers. A security guard walked past, glanced at us, and muttered, "Not my problem, kids." like we were some background noise he could turn off. That night, I learned two things. 1. Some people's love comes with a receipt. I'd already cost too much. They thought I didn't know why the bank was circling. They thought they could sell me the hard times story. But I'd already heard the unedited version. 2 weeks ago, a mutual acquaintance told me Frank had drained Lily's college fund to pay off gambling debts. Mom had co-signed every withdrawal, but there was something they didn't know I knew. When I turned 18, just before I disappeared from their lives, they had quietly opened a credit card in my name. My signature was forged, badly, but enough to run up thousands in debt. They'd let it default. I'd spent 2 years digging out of that hole, thinking it was just some scammer. Only last month did I get the paperwork proving exactly whose scam it was. Now they were here, asking me to co-sign on something again. "You're not asking for help," I said, my voice steady. "You're asking me to pay for your mess, the same way you already made me pay before I even had a chance to live my own life." For the first time that evening, Frank's expression cracked. Not in shame, in panic. Mom's eyes darted toward Lily, like maybe this was a secret she'd hoped would stay buried forever. Frank slammed his palm on the table hard enough to rattle the mugs. "You ungrateful." "Don't." I cut him off. My tone didn't rise, but it carried years of locked-away anger. "You made your choice in 2016. This is me making mine." Mom opened her mouth, then closed it. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at Lily now, maybe realizing that if I told her everything, the last thread of loyalty in this family would snap. Lily blinked, confused. "What does he mean, pay before?" Mom flinched. Frank muttered, "Doesn't matter. It's over with." "No," I said. "It's not over. You just ran out of places to hide it." Lily's eyes shifted between us, and for the first time, I saw something break in her. Not anger at me, but a thin, sharp crack of doubt in them. I walked out into the February air, letting the cold sting my face. Behind me, the kitchen had gone quiet, the kind of quiet that doesn't heal, the kind that settles in like a permanent shadow. Later, Lily texted me. "I'm sorry for that night. I was a kid. I didn't know everything." I stared at that last part. Everything, knowing she meant the forged debt, the betrayal I hadn't planned to tell her about tonight. "You were, and it wasn't your fault," I wrote back. It wasn't forgiveness for them, but maybe, for her, it was the start of a truth she needed to hear. I didn't sign the papers. I didn't save their house. The bank took it last week. They moved into a small apartment across town, the kind where the walls are thin enough to hear your neighbors' arguments. One night, driving past, I slowed at the intersection. Their building stood at the end of the block, and just across the street, under a flickering streetlight, was the Greyhound station. The same one from that night, the same yellow glow, the same cold wind curling around the corner. I'm not celebrating. That was never the point. I didn't want them to suffer for the sake of suffering. I wanted them to understand. And maybe, when that winter wind slips through their window, they'll remember what it's like to be left in the cold. My revenge wasn't loud. It didn't come with fireworks. It came in the form of peace. Mine, not theirs. I've built a life on my own terms. I'm not rich, I'm not famous, but I'm safe. Safety, after years of glancing over my shoulder, feels like gold. If one day they want to talk, really talk, I might listen, but I won't wait. Life's too short to camp out on freezing concrete, hoping someone shows up. If you've ever been left behind by the people who were supposed to protect you, you know the kind of pain I'm talking about. In situations like this, the hardest choice is putting your own peace above old loyalties. So tell me in the comments, what would you have done? Would you walk away like I did, or give them that second chance? Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to hear that they're allowed to choose themselves. Your voice matters, and maybe your story will help someone else survive theirs.